Hey everybody, John Franklin Reviewer, and welcome to the Phantasm ranking. If you haven't seen any of my individual reviews, I have them all out after this ranking video with like the little bit of highlights that I'm going to talk about. If you want them more extended, you can go check those ones out. What would be your ranking of the Phantasm movies from worst to best? Okay, well, let's get ourselves started. The worst of this franchise, and this may not be a shocker to anybody here, is Phantasm 5 Ravager. Well, here's what I will say on the good side, is that all the actors do a good job. It doesn't matter if you're the main characters like Mike, Reggie, and the Tall Man, or maybe someone who has more of a medium size or a smaller role. I really actually am very pleased that I could sit down and like, you know what? Everybody does a really good job. We don't get a whole lot of action, but when we do, it actually is decently good, at least for me. Same thing with blood and gore. We don't get a whole lot of scenes of that, but they don't shy away from the blood or the gore, and that's always a good thing. But there is one highlighted character that I have to talk about, and it's not one of the main ones. A character named Chunk. Now, in my review, I think I thought his name was Chuck. And then when I looked it up, I had to actually correct myself and subtitles on that there. So the thing, or on text, sorry. But the thing was Chunk. I like this guy. He's in my mind, he's actually a really cool character. He's the comic relief. He's actually pretty badass when he needs to be. Something really cool happens with him at the end of Act 2, beginning of Act 3, that I was like, okay, I'm actually on board with what the hell you're going to do. But on the flip side, I didn't like the story. I didn't like Don Coscarelli's script. I didn't like the direction that they went. They got a new director. I didn't like his style. Don Coscarelli should have just directed this. The editing was really choppy. And there's actually a little bit of dialogue very early into the movie where Mike is talking to Reggie about some certain things, and it ticks me off, and I think it ticks off a lot of people, and I just feel like it kind of ruins the franchise. So sometimes I feel like that 4 is the cutoff point, and this movie does not exist. Moving on from there is number 4, Phantasm 4 Oblivion. Now, what I actually think is pretty cool about this is that Reggie's still a badass in this one. Mike's acting is a lot better than what we actually get in Part 3. The Tall Man, we see him a lot more in this. Now, yes, he is the main villain in all of these movies, but I feel like that we don't see him a whole lot in 2 and 3. In the first one, we know it's pretty much him and the little bit of the Ewoks. There's a really cool fight very early in the movie with Reggie and a monster cop, which was actually one of the better action scenes. And again, this is just like Part 5. There's not a whole lot of action, but there's actually a lot more cooler stunts in this one. Reggie does have like a really cool one-liner at the end that I really like. When it came to the Tall Man, once again, playing doing a different range of acting, and he plays a character named Jebediah Morningside, and he's trying to figure out different dimensions. And whenever they kind of give you how he becomes the Tall Man, it's okay, but I still like they keep the mystery there. But on the flip side, this story is very slow, it's very boring. They put on the brakes compared to 2 and 3, having these really big, like, action scenes and action pieces going on. Maybe not like a Schwarzenegger or Stallone, but in their own way, it's a lot more stuff than what we actually get from the first one or even in this one. A lot of this movie, Mike is actually in the desert hiding from everybody, trying to figure out how to bring the Tall Man out from the darkness into the light to try to kill him. Now, most of these movies, except Part 2, Mike and Reggie are normally separated and they're doing their own things. And most of the time it's usually Reggie trying to find Mike and Mike saying, don't look for me, I need to find the Tall Man and do this on my own, and that's fine. But when they do finally get a chance to see each other, they're probably in the same scene like maybe a few minutes or something like that, and then they disappear again. And it's like, that fucking sucks. And then, like, the last minute or two of this movie is probably the first one that I really didn't like the way this ended. It didn't really knock my socks off like the other ones did. And number 3 is Phantasm 2. I know a lot of people love this movie. This would probably be their number 1. For me, it's just okay. That's why it's right in the middle. Some of the cool stuff I gotta talk about is I like how Reggie, at Reggie's house, and Mike, still a young kid, is already in danger with the Tall Man and the Ewoks, or again, their version. I don't remember if they ever gave them a name on this or not. I really do actually like that, where you get your heroes in danger. And throughout this entire movie, there's still a lot of like messed up stuff that happens, even if it's not to them, and certain things that they might actually see that may or may not be real. Reggie, this is where he actually becomes really cool, becomes a badass. He's funny. I will definitely say my all-time favorite scene is the hardware store where Mike and Reggie are going in, getting all these weapons, modifying a couple of them, which is really awesome. I like the whole build-up from the first two acts of trying to find the tall man, getting into the big action scene in Act 3. And the final thing is the silver flying balls. They have a new feature in this, which is really cool compared to the first one. But on the flip side, it's got to be James LaGrosse taking over for A. Michael Baldwin as Mike. His line delivery is really bad. He has no chemistry with any other character, even with Reggie. I wish we actually got more of the tall man in this here. Elizabeth is another character that she has these really strange visions that she knows people that she's never met before, like with Mike. She has no reaction to even like the biggest situations, the scariest things that's going on. She's just like, oh, okay, well, this is what's going on. Let's go to the next scene. So every time that she's in a scene, especially by herself, it gets very boring for me. And when we get to Act 3, the big, supposedly good versus evil action-packed scene, it stalls out for me. And going to number 2 is Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead. I love the hell out of this movie here. I love the direction. I love the story. I love the script. Reggie's great in this. There's a kid named Tim. He's just a great actor. You believe what's going on. He's one of these characters that I kind of go back to this movie because of him and how fun he is. But also the other partner that Reggie gets is a female character named Rocky. I think she's a really cool character. She fights with nunchucks. I love her dialogue in this. I'll never understand why people ever give her shit that she's horrible, and I completely disagree. She's almost like the female Reggie to a point. I love Act 3 in this. This is really a fun Act 3. They do not let go of the gas pedal. They just go for it, and they have fun with it, and it's awesome. But on the other side, it's got to be the character Mike. They bring back A. Michael Baldwin, this time as an adult, not as a kid from the original. Pretty much for the first half of this movie, we see him briefly at the beginning. He gets kidnapped by the tall man, and then we don't see him for a while, and then when we do see him again, his acting is horrible as hell. He actually does bring the movie down just a little bit. The tall man's not even in it that much. I feel like he's in it slightly more than he is in part 2, but I still wanted to see more of him. It's more about Reggie, Tim, and Rocky, which is fine because at least they're all interesting characters to actually follow. And then we get these hench people try to rob Tim's house. They actually keep coming back in this movie here, and it's more of a nuisance than anything else. It's like, okay, you're trying to go after the heroes and take them out, but it feels like that you're just there just to kind of interrupt them to go after the tall man, but nothing else than that. It feels like I needed more from these hench people, and it was disappointing. And my number 1, no surprise, is the original Phantasm movie. I love this movie. This is nearly a perfect movie. And let's talk about the negative side about could have made this a little bit better. Now, the first thing I got to talk about is Reggie. Now, his acting is really good in this here, but my main thing I just want to say is I wish he was in the movie a lot more. I wish it was more about the two brothers, and I wish there were some more scenes with the two brothers and Reggie. And then the other thing is, the first 2 minutes of this movie, we got a character, a young guy having sex with a beautiful blonde woman in a cemetery. He actually gets killed, and then the next scene, they're at the funeral home, and they show Jody, and they show Reggie. And the thing is that they talk about this guy, his name was Tommy, and they talk about him like he was part of the Three Amigos, he was their best friend. And I wish that they would have showed more with this guy. If there's any deleted scenes with him, I wish they would have showed something, even if it's just a couple extra minutes longer for this movie than what it would have been. That's where I would probably say is the only part of Don Coscarelli's script I did not like. I don't know much about this guy. Why should I care about him? But on the good side, I will definitely say the tall man, he's scary as hell. He's funny because I just like his deadpan humor when he talks. I'm like, okay, I actually enjoyed a lot of his dialogue and chuckled a decent amount of times. Jody is really awesome. He's cool, calm, and collect. Even when shit's hitting the fan. It just seems like he has the situation under control, and I kind of actually like characters like that. Mike, as a kid actor, he does a good job. He actually goes through a lot of hell in this movie. Don Coscarelli's direction, I know this was his very first baby of this franchise. He does a great job with it. I love the script, love the story. I'm engaged throughout this entire movie, and I definitely really do enjoy the twist at the end. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in Phantasm 2 and 3, they got some really good twists too. I just wanted to throw that out. So there is my ranking of the Phantasm movie. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.